My name is Chris Detto, and I'll be your host for the 2020 Homecoming Coaches Panel. I graduated Maritime in 2018 and competed on the baseball team for all 4 years. I'm currently in the United States Marine Corps and deployed to Kuwait. What does Maritime athletics look like this fall, and are you competing or practicing? If so, what plans are in place to keep everybody safe?
Women's volleyball is a fall sport. We're not competing. Our season schedule was postponed, canceled, pretty much up in the air. We are practicing 2 days a week. We are easing back into a full practice, doing a lot of yoga, making sure that everybody's body is strong and ready to get back into the gym. At this time, everybody has their own ball and their own space on the wall, and they're kind of married to that. There's no, peppering, no scrimmaging, not yet. We're taking it slowly. The girls are very eager, keeping them very interested in getting back on the court. So just taking it slow and safe.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Men's soccer is also going twice a week right now. We started out in small pods of 10. We've just graduated into full team, which is below 50 players at one time. So we're not anywhere near 50. We're about 20, 22, doing a lot of ball work, passing patterns, footwork, as well as to keep safe, trying to stay out of each other's space, wearing masks during practice. We're not full contact yet, working towards that. We're also not playing any games, but hopefully looking to build towards maybe scrimmages in the springtime.
Hi, Coach ATN. Women's soccer, we're competing 2-3 times a week. We're practicing 2-3 times a week. We're not competing. We're trying to be creative with space and mindful that we have 5 mugs that haven't completed their course of study yet. So we're trying to keep them busy, occupied, team building. There's always an opportunity to mentor with the upperclassmen. So we're keeping together, and we're one of the few outlets available on campus for the kids to get out and breathe a little fresh air.
Yeah, from a football standpoint, we've being the quote unquote the high risk, high contact sport. We started off more so with the strength and conditioning realm for the first few weeks of the school year, simply because a lot of our athletes did not have access to gyms or things of that nature. And obviously the aspect of strength and conditioning is huge in any sport, but especially in football. And we started progressing much like every other sports, progressing in a small group pods, and we've actually been practicing 3 to 4 times a week in smaller groups, and hopefully over the next week or two progressing to this week we're able to have bigger groups, side of the ball practices, and hopefully within the next week or two, if we're working with our medical professionals, and Hide Okua has done a phenomenal job for us, and I'm sure with all the other sports to really keep our athletes safe, and doing daily COVID checks and temperature screenings, and now with some of the testing protocols that we're doing, we're trying to ramp that up to make sure that our athletes are one, getting what they need to do from a sports specific standpoint, but also being safe from a pandemic standpoint. So I've been very pleased. Our players have done a phenomenal job of getting out of their comfort zone. Having to wear a mask underneath a helmet or while you're lifting weights is not easy. And those guys have there's no complaining. They just come to work every day, and I've been so proud of our guys for able to do it. And again, it's as coaches, we're just trying to follow every protocol that we can, that we're getting from any of the medical professionals or the administration that we have on campus.
Definitely.
I'll jump in if I had to adjust, but yeah, we've been, obviously we had our spring season canceled, so our guys are kind of chomping at the bit to get on the field, and it's been interesting because we're having our field renovated. So we've had usually 4 workouts a week off-site. So 2 nights a week we're at a local field in Throgsneck, and Saturday, Sunday we're at Salesian High School, which is about a 20-minute drive from campus. But our guys are doing a really nice job adapting to that and being able to kind of still focus on the academic side while having to travel for our own practices. And, we're also lifting 4 days a week. So that's been great. So it's really just for us, it's exciting to get the guys together, kind of having cut short our spring last year and just being able to we were into squatting and so that's kind of like for us being as competitive as we can right now and it's phenomenal. So looking forward to continuing with the fall and then jumping into the spring.
And Coach Charlie, what's the main reason you're practicing off campus right now?
Well, it's funny you should ask, Chris. We have a $2 million field renovation happening, and it's something that we are extremely excited about. And it's whole new turf field, all new fencing around, brand new lights, outdoor hitting tunnel, netting around the entire field, a bunch of other things going on that we're super excited about. And we're hoping that it will be done early November and we can kind of complete our fall season on the turf. It'd be a great way to end our fall season and just pumped to have that for the spring because you know how it's been on that field and we love it. It had character, but we were ready for something a little bit more advanced and a little just better to deal with the Northeast weather that we all have to deal with. Yeah.
It must be nice for those student athletes to get on a nice turf field.
Alumni day, baby. Alumni day. It's all yours.
I can't wait.
I know.
So for us, for men's lacrosse, obviously with the field being renovated, so what we did was I have 6 groups of 9, which is led by our upperclassmen. And, they either do strength and conditioning or they're running around campus. And it's been a really good positive thing for us because the underclassmen get to learn from the upperclassmen. They get to, pick their brains and, what the ins and outs of maritime is or how I operate or how the coaches operate. So it's been, our guys have been doing a pretty good job making the best of the situation we have here.
Got it. So now, with that being said, how are you keeping your student athletes engaged and motivated to be a part of your team during these difficult times? Obviously, last year with COVID-19 and earlier this year, you had seasons just wiped out from seniors and people and student athletes that were poised to have great years. So how do you keep them engaged and what, as a coach, what is your biggest challenge for your student that you see your student athletes having?
I think I'll jump. Oh, Mike, you want to jump in?
Oh, I'll start. It's fine. Keeping them engaged. The soccer team was super excited. We actually won our conference last year, so they were super excited to come back this season and potentially defend that title. Unfortunately, that did not happen, but they were super excited to be on the field. They want to play. They want to do everything they can to keep themselves in shape, keep their fitness up. And they're just looking forward to the next time they can play. The seniors, are really, pushing the younger guys to do better because they've worked hard for the last 2, 3, 4 years, depending on how long they've been there. And they know where the program has gotten to, and they want to keep it there. So they're kind of self-motivated to keep themselves, at a high level. The biggest challenge is other guys that know that there is no season and they're kind of focusing on their schoolwork, which I can't, fault them for. They want to keep the grades up, and this is a, good chance for them to stay with the books. We all know how hard the rigor is at Maritime. So for them to stay with their grades and keep their grades up for the semester and not have to balance it as much as they have in the past, that's a little challenging because you don't have everybody that you want to have at training, but you can understand why they want to, be more dedicated to their studies.
I was just going to say for us, like, just talking about it coming off of spring, we often say as coaches, hey, the this could be the last time you put on a uniform, or, hey, you only have a certain amount of swings left. Well, you know, for me and Justin last year, it just came, it hit us like a ton of bricks, and it was reality, and it's over. And for our seniors, it was heartbreaking. And so you have high school seniors that are now freshmen that dealt with the same thing. So I've never had a more motivated group of kids. Like Mike said, they're so self-motivated. And part of that is just because they realize how quickly this can be taken away from them. And as much as our kids come to Maritime for the license and for the academics, man, these kids are here to compete and play sports. And if they told you different, they'd be lying to you. So I think the motivation has been kind of easy. It's these kids are so ready to go. And I know for us, you know, we kept the conversation going on a lot of different issues over the summer through Zoom. That was probably one of the best things that came about everything, was being able to communicate through that forum, which I had never really heard of before. And it allowed us to communicate pretty much all year round. I think one of the bigger challenges for us is, like I said, practicing off campus. You know, for me, I'm still adapting to wearing the mask and having all these kids check in. They have a couple different things they have to check in with every day to make sure that they're clear to practice. And I'm still trying to get better at that. I'm still trying to get the guys a little bit better at that because they have so many things going on. But yeah, man, to answer your question, I think they're so motivated, and we're just kind of guiding them the right way, and getting back in the field is the best motivation that these guys could have.
I have to agree with Charlie. I mean, the women's volleyball program, I mean, I always say I have a very special group of young ladies who are at the Division III level. It's all about the love of the game. And they definitely show that every day that they're in the gym. They are jumping through every possible hoop that they have to in order to compete and just play with each other, do yoga, keep the mask on, stay 6 feet apart. They're doing whatever it takes. And kind of like what Charlie said about his freshmen, you know, a lot of our freshmen didn't get to do their overnight visit, didn't get to really get that, you know, I'm being a recruited athlete feel. So making sure that our team includes the freshmen has been a big thing too. That's another thing that's bringing us together, is that desire to really connect with your teammates off of the court, so that when we finally get in the gym together and are able to practice and have a great practice, we all know each other. We all are comfortable communicating, and, you know, we're just growing as a team in every way. And they're into those different opportunities to do that.
If I can jump in, Chris, that's a great question. How do we keep these kids engaged? I think that they're starting to appreciate that they have the ability to stay on campus, continue their studies, and engage in athletics with the new normal, whatever it is. So the student athletes are at an advantage right now because they have their friends, and they can get in their fitness and have a little fun. It's tough. I came across a new term today. It's called post-traumatic growth. So these kids will grow from this experience and really appreciate what they're going through, which is unique.
I think one of the best things of being a fall sport is the fact of preseason, and that was really something that was a struggle for us. I mean, we're close to 5 weeks in, and some of our guys haven't even met all their teammates yet. Whether it's been protocols that we have to be in smaller groups, or they've only seen them on Zoom, and, you know, we try to pass out gear and say, yeah, you have to get out of your comfort level. You see somebody with a new, you know, Maritime football shirt, go introduce yourself, and it's crazy. And I think to Tim's point a little bit is hopefully our players can grow on this and things. I think a positive of it, you know, for football, you come in, you know, 2-3 weeks before the student body, and no one else is on campus other than custodial staff and maybe coaches and, you know, administrators and things like that. And it's football all day from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. And that's something that I found really special as I was an athlete, and I even do so as a coach. That's where you get to learn and build the true relationships in a lot of ways. And that's one of the best things about being a fall sport, I think. And unfortunately, we weren't able to have that. But I think our guys are taking some lessons from this. I know some of our players have approached us about exploring the master's programs here at Maritime to fulfill their requirements, do the fast track, and be able to take some of those classes while they're undergraduates, which I think is phenomenal. And many of those guys, I mentioned it in passing, but it was because our players asked about it. And I think that that's a positive out of it. And trying to be optimistic as much as I possibly can and giving them positives. I think that's something that they definitely learn from. And as we progress, we're in this together, and it's, no coach that's coached any sport that's currently coaching has probably dealt with something like this. So, as teams and as groups, we're trying to learn from it together and be supportive of the people that we have around. And when we can eventually get back to somewhat of normal, hopefully we can find that we grew from it and made each other and ourselves better and our teams better.
If I could piggyback off of what Mickey said, like you said, some of the kids don't even know each other. And like he was talking about preseason, the boys spend so many hours together, doing 2 days, having lunch, having dinner, having breakfast, being around each other because they're the only ones on campus. So last night at practice, I stressed to them to make sure that they're, staying in contact in their group chat, going to dinner together, bringing the mugs along that really haven't had contact with other guys in the team other than those 2 hours a week, 4 hours a week that they're at practice, but the culture of the team is really important. And then the boys need to know each other a little bit more off the field than on the field as well.
Definitely. Coach Manaris, I'll ask this question to you. Going through Maritime myself, obviously, that freshman year is so critical, building relationships with your seniors, juniors, your upperclassmen in general. And in this time, obviously Indoc has changed. How have your student athletes been able to bring in the civilian class and as well as the mugs in with this changing Indoc schedule, going to a couple weekends and it just being a totally fluid environment due to COVID. So can you just tell me about your team's experience that they've had, especially with the new recruits that you guys brought in?
So before I answer that one, but I want to answer the question before. I got to tip my hat to the fall coaches. Okay, what Charlie and I went through in the spring. March 11th we played a game against Vassar. March 12th I get a text say, hey, your spring season's done. So they basically just ripped the Band-Aid off, and I had to tell our guys, and Charlie had to tell his guys, and Alyssa had to tell her girls that it was over. And with these fall coaches going through and knowing the possibility they may not play a game this semester, and I talk with them to pick their brain to see how they're handling things, like, because I may be in that situation. We don't know what's going to happen, in the winter time when we're ready to go. But, I'm very thankful that they're around and, I can learn a couple of things from them. So thanks, guys. But as far as the new guys coming in, the one thing that we all have in common here as student athletes, we're all in the same boat, figuratively speaking. But, when some guys say, when can we get on the field or when can we start contact or whatever it is, other schools aren't doing much either. They're in their groups too, with no more than 10 people. They're not, some schools that I know, they're not even throwing and catching. They're just running around doing sprints or whatever the case may be. But that keeps our guys at a pretty level-headed, and I feel across the board for us, level playing field.
Definitely. Now, how about for some of the other coaches? How have your freshmen transitioned, from high school to being freshmen on your team in this difficult time?
I think for fall sport, it's actually a little bit relieving for them. They're not usually, like I said, the beautiful thing about being a fall coach is you get to get them here early and whatever. And, they're only there for football and they don't have much going on. But then school hits or Indoc hits or whatever it may be, then they have football on top of that. And we're taking it pretty from schematics and learning and things like that, I say to them, it's about getting better at the techniques on the day. We're not worried about, beating, Anna Maria on Saturday, and I think if we can put it at that, there's a little bit less stress involved when, you're in season. We have just by sport, we have close to 41 newcomers this fall. And that was challenging in and of itself. One as coaches, just to try to make sure we know where all those guys are and filling in. But it's something that, our upperclassmen have done a phenomenal job. When Indoc started those few days prior to school, we had some guys that had already moved in, and they made it a point to get to the dorms and get to know those guys and stuff that we stress, know your teammates, know who they are, know where they're from. And I think too, not having as much, 20 hours, whatever it is, when you're in season that you're able to have, it gives us the ability that our guys can focus on the other things and put more of an emphasis on, whether it's academics or things of that nature. And like I said, I think as coaches in general, we're also educators. So we're able to help them in their studies, in their transition. And ultimately when we get into the spring or next fall, when they actually do get to compete at the college level for the first time, it's not going to be as eye-opening as what it is as an 18-year-old that only had 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks to prepare at some time. So, again, we got to find the positives in all of this. And I think that there are a lot as you look at it. And that's just been something that we've tried to do. We've tried to stress, and I think it's going to show and really see that our freshmen are going to flourish. And our newcomers, who do some transfers, are going to flourish probably earlier than what they would have if we were, playing in a sense. So we're able to develop them earlier than what we normally would.
I'd say as being a part-time staff at the college, it's a little bit more difficult to check in with as much as you'd like to check in with your new athletes, your freshmen, as well as your upperclassmen. But what I try and do is I have them in the office where I talk to them one-on-one after practice or before practice to see how they're doing, how they're acclimating. Is there anything that they need help with? Point them in the direction of a teammate that is in their major that can help them along with their studies. Make sure they're doing well academically. Do they need to get any tutors or anything like that? But I make a point to really check in with the freshmen, whether they're mugs or civilian, to make sure that they're doing well and that make sure that they have any kind of help if they need it.
Good to go. So we're going to actually, so we want to jump. I think we're running on a time thing. We're going to jump to the last question. Michelle, you could lead off with the when I say the last question. Okay. So coaches, here's our last question. How has your recruiting been affected or changed? And how does the future look for your team?
I'm going to pass on this one. I'm just kidding. Recruiting is definitely, it's changed. We're used to having so many more opportunities by this point in the year of seeing a large volume of volleyball players in one place. Including the beach scene. I mean, I live in a beach community where I walk around with a Maritime shirt and I look at every young lady who's playing to see what their intentions are for the following year. So it's a lot less personal for me this year than it usually is. It's not to say it's not happening, but it's definitely different. I have a great leadership of my team. My captains are fantastic. So anytime that there is a young lady I'm interested in recruiting, they're immediately asking me, how can we contact her? What can we do to help make sure that she comes here? So making it a whole team affair and making sure that we're always pushing that volleyball community, it just keeps helping.
I'll jump in. It's going to be exciting because I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for kids that are going to reassess their needs for college. And I think a lot of the bubbles and balloons are going to be burst, that they're D1 players, D2 players. And their circle to travel might be 2 hours instead of going across the country. We're a great college and we're student athletes, and a lot of these kids can play for us where they might be sitting on a bench elsewhere. But most importantly, when their career is over, they're going to have a well-paying job at the end of the 120 weeks of college experience. So it's recruiting, it's retention. I think Mickey told me that of the student athletes that come in at INDOC, we retain 99% of them. So that's an interesting statistic. Thank you.
Luckily, we've been able to have some recruits on campus. Administration was trying to limit the number of visitors, and starting October 1st, we were able to. And I've, living on campus, and the other portion of my job is our admissions liaison, and I've, seen our other coaches and other programs. We've hit the ground running with it, and you can tell that recruits are here. One thing that I've said to recruits and their parents is I've sat down with them football wise is, a lot of times when a recruit comes in, they rely on the coach so much. Hey, give me some guidance. Where do I fit in? Academically, am I qualified? Where do I fit in your roster? Things like that. And I almost find myself relying on the student athlete a little bit more of what do you need? What can I do to help? How can I do this? It's every sport is different of how you recruit it. I actually did track. I did field, not track, right? But 100 meters in high school is 100 meters in college. You know what you have there, right? If somebody can throw a baseball 90 miles an hour, that pitcher can throw 90 miles an hour. Now you got to work on all different things, right? With other sports, it's every sport is different of how you recruit, and I think it's you have to go. It's very cliche coaching wise, but you have to go back to the fundamentals. What do you want? What do you need? And to Tim's point a little bit too, I think a big change is going to be you get some of those players that would be great Division III players, but they have the metrics, they have the size, they have this, they don't have tape. So they're going to get pulled to the higher divisions where they shouldn't be there, really, in my opinion, and in a lot of our opinions. And quite honestly, on the flip side of that, I think that there's going to be some really very good Division III players that should not be at Division III, but they don't have those metrics, and they're going to get overlooked by the higher ones. And I think that that's the positive out of it, that at our level in Division III that I think we should be able to see. And I'm proud that our athletic department, the numbers of our admissions are way up because our numbers from most teams, but the numbers is the athletic department in general are up from the past 2 years. 2 or 3 years. I got to go back and look, but that's something that I think it's so unique. A lot of people aren't playing, especially in the game of football. They're not playing, right? So you don't have that film. To Michelle's point, we didn't have the opportunity to see them at camps or clinics or whatever it may be. So it's continuing to build on the relationships that we have, whether it's a high school coach. I know other sports rely on AAU or club coaches, and you got to trust the people in those positions that you've trusted for years. And say, hey, should I be recruiting this person or not? Is it a good person? Is it a good fit? Is it somebody that can do well at Maritime? Because Maritime is unique, and if we can do that, I think I think the outlook on athletics from Maritime standpoint for the future is going to be very bright if we're able to do that as an entire staff. And it's not just football versus baseball versus soccer versus volleyball, right? It's all of us working as a collective group. And I know that there's been plenty of baseball recruits that have come out to football practice because they come out in the fall, right? And there's things that I love that. There's athletics in general, if we can be a cohesive unit and a good group together, they're going to see that and be attracted to Maritime.
Follow up with that. I just want to, there's definitely been some challenges, Chris. I think some of them have been, like Mickey said, we haven't been able to get recruits on campus. Typically, we'll start getting them up at the end of the summer and throughout September, and we got pushed back till October 1st. The challenge is no overnights. Right now, they can't. I'm a big fan of pushing kids in class, so they sit in class with our current students, and they can really get a feel of the academic curriculum here, whatever major they're looking to choose. But on the flip side, there's been a lot of positives. One has been, as a coach, I've had to embrace technology, and because of this, it's like a new way of recruiting and not having the traditional ways that Mickey was saying. It's allowed me as a coach to just get better on that end of it, and the actual recruiting side of it. The Division III's benefited. I know baseball wise this summer, I think Justin probably dealt with it the same, where Division I's and Division II coaches were extremely restricted in where they were allowed to go and get out and recruit. So the D3s were like, it was like free. I was like a shark in the water, man, at these events. And it was like, hey, I'm jumping all over this. And it was almost like I had a pick of the litter. And now it's my job is to like Mickey said, is this kid a good fit? And sell our school on these recruits. And it's an easy sell because of what we offer. But again, there's been some downside, but the positive is just we'll be able to bring in kids that maybe in the past we haven't been able to because they're getting scooped up by D1s and D2s. And now they're falling into our laps because they're not being seen by those schools. And they kind of say, wow, you know what? I can get a great education. I can get a great degree, and I can still play high-level athletics. And Maritime's a great spot for that.
I would say that it's been a little challenging. I feel like playing a little catch up because all of I haven't been to a tournament since February to watch players, and all the big soccer tournaments on the East Coast or in the Northeast and all around the country obviously were canceled. So you're playing catch up on getting to watch those players, and they need to learn that recruiting landscape has changed. And a lot of things are going to be done via video and having good tape, to send to coaches so they can get a better view of you, because, who knows when the next tournament is that they can get to. The next tournament might be in West Virginia. That might be a hot state. And then we can't really go there because we have to come back and quarantine for 14 days, so getting to go to tournaments that are local around, Long Island, New York, New Jersey. They're starting to open up now. So I'll be at a tournament this weekend to getting to watch some players. As other coaches said, getting them on campus October 1st is big. Not having competition this fall, allows me to go see some of the schools that are playing school soccer. I was able to go to Jersey the other day to go watch a player. Unfortunately, Long Island doesn't have school soccer going on right now, but they do have club soccer going on. So high-level club teams are playing fall seasons that they don't normally play. So you get to go watch them. So it's kind of changed how you're watching players, how you get into, how you want to stay in touch with them, get them on the hook, and keep that open dialogue going, with them as much as you can, and sell the school with what our strengths are.
Got it. Thank you, Coach Glancy. So we're going to wrap this up. Before I just say our final remarks, I just want to really thank you guys as coaches and, mainly teachers for the student athletes. As I entered Maritime in 2014, the athletics program has come such a long way in the 6 years since I've started as a MUG, where student athletes, didn't have much to be prideful for. And you see it now just on social media with the current student athletes and just the alumni in the last few years. And I know there's a huge group of older alumni as well that love to support Maritime athletics. And I see them on a daily basis, grateful for the things that yourself and your student athletes are doing. And you can just see the absolute cultural change from the top down, from Admiral Fultis to Dean Imbriale to Mike Birkin, athletic director, and then directly in yourselves and to your student athletes. Just the competition at Maritime and the pride that people have in being privateers is something that, if I walked into as a brand new recruit, I would be ecstatic to be a part of. And it really is a family environment that sets you up for life. Being a United States Marine Corps officer, I learned 95% of my leadership skills and my ability to communicate and be an effective leader through my time being a student athlete at Maritime and being around great coaches and teachers like yourselves. So I really want to thank you all for that, and especially during this tough year that 2020 has been. So thank you for your dedication to Maritime Athletics and continuing to produce some of the best student athletes and students that this country has. So finally, with that, thank you for taking your time on your busy day to join me on the coaches panel for homecoming. And I hope everybody has a safe and healthy rest of the year. Thank you.
Thanks for your service, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. Take care.
Thanks, guys, for joining the call.
Cheers.
Go get some sleep, bro. Go get some sleep.
No, hey, coach, there's an AAB meeting in 20 minutes. I can't miss that.
I just asked Riley the same thing. See you guys in a few.
I guess I'll jump on that one.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Later.
Thanks, Chris.
Now we know
Appreciate
you're
it.
available, Charlie. You got it.
I think my kids are crying. I gotta go. Actually,
Oh,
so
what's that? Oh, yeah, my
Yeah.
dog I don't have needs me to take him for a walk.
I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to